Chief.
I'd like to open the meeting of the South San Antonio Independent School District Special Call Meeting. Today's date is Thursday, January the 25th, 2018, and the time is 7 p.m. Mrs. Martinez, if we could have roll call.
Mrs. Angelina Osteguin,
Present.
Mr. Luis Ibarra Jr., Mrs. Leticia Guerra,
Here.
Mrs. Connie Prado,
Present.
Mrs. Elda Flores.
Present. Okay. Now we're going to go into the Pledge of Allegiance, the Texas Pledge, the prayer, and call to action.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honoring the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please bow your heads. Lord, as we meet to conduct matters of business, please guide our hearts and minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom on our activities so that our tasks may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance tonight. Amen. Now the call to action. All students will enjoy successful education experiences to empower them to make decisions and enrich their lives in the future they create. Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, we're now into the consent section. Policy PE Local states that the consent agenda shall include items of a routine and recurring nature grouped together under one action item. All such items shall be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items shall be adopted under a single motion and vote. So do I hear any board members wanting to pull one consent item? Okay, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the resolution to pay employees for the bad weather day, January 16, 2018.
I second. So a motion has been made by Mrs. Flores, seconded by Mrs. Osteguin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We're now into the discussion and possible action. Number 1, to approve district annual financial report for fiscal year ended August 31st, 2017. Dr. Saavedra.
So, being members of the board, I have called Mr. Samada, our CFO, to introduce this item, and we can move forward, but I don't see Mr. Somebody else. Go ahead. They moved, you moved. Thank you.
Good evening.
You're getting so thin, I just can't.
Good evening. Today we have Rene Gonzalez, Eli Mendoza, and Mr. Bernigo to present our annual financial report.
Thank you, J.C. Madam President and members of the Board of Trustees, my name is Rene Gonzalez, and I'm here representing your independent CPA firm that performed the audit for the year ended August 31st, 2017. And I appreciate the time that you're going to give us to present this report for you. With me is Eli Mendoza. We have half the team that's here this afternoon representing and willing to respond to any questions that board members may have and try to clarify the report that we did and the findings that we do have included in here. But with me is Eli Mendoza, who is a partner in this particular engagement, and Richard Galindo, who worked as the manager in this particular engagement. Both individuals are certified and they have over 35 years of experience, specifically in the governmental arena area, audits, and school districts. What I understand is included in your packet is 2 different reports that we issued. One is the larger report, which is the financial and compliance audit. That's a larger report that deals with financial information and where we render our opinions on whether those financial statements are fairly presented or not. And a second report that we call the conduct of audit report, which is a smaller report, which is really also could be entitled the management level. And this is a way that we communicate not only to top management but to the board as well of findings or issues that we've discovered during a particular audit. What I'd like to do this afternoon, if you permit me, is there should have been a handout on the audit summary, JC. And so that's about a 3-page document. And that prevents us from having to go through the report page by page on any issues that you may have. So this audit summary is what we bring to you and highlighting some of the issues of the report. And if you go through the audit summary on page 1 of the audit summary, each area is also, we have in parentheses the page numbers that refer to the larger report. So if you were interested in looking at that later or have some questions in regards to that, it refers to the pages there. I know that there were some, and I'm not sure what the process is. This is our first year presenting to this particular school district, so I'm not sure what the president and the board of members expect from us at this point in time. I can either go over the summary or just respond to any questions that you may have, as you already, I understand the packet was included in your packet, the reports.
Okay, board members, I know that the questions that were submitted was by Mrs. Prado. Mrs. Prado, did you get sufficient answers to your questions?
No, it was my understanding, Dr. Saavedra emailed me and said that they would be answered today by the auditors, but I had some for the auditors and 2 for Dr. Saavedra.
Okay. Do you have those questions, sir, or do you need Mrs. Prado to ask?
No. I think we appreciate that, getting that ahead of time. And they were very detailed questions, very informative questions, and I can respond to those directly if that's what you
Yes, sir. We're allowing time for...
rather than go through the summary itself. And in that particular case, I know that there's about 3 or 4 questions that deal primarily with the first analysis that the district would be receiving from TA. This was not part of our scope in this particular engagement to look at those particular numbers and formulas. TA will do that sometime later after they gather this information. But I'm happy to report to you that I think that in our professional opinion, all of those ratings will be increased from where they were in the past. And I'm sharing that with you because based on the financial activity, the assets, the liabilities, it reflects that there will be an increase in the ratings in those particular areas. Most of them you did get 10s in the past. There were a few that you didn't. But I'm not sure that you'll actually get 10, but you'll get a higher number than you did in the past. And again, that's a different area. We don't really look at that as part of our audit, but our numbers are reflected when TA does prepare that report and issue something to you. A year from now, really, they come back in around August to present their first ratings. But they should be positive.
Oh, Madam Chair, if I may, I guess.
Okay, so the way this process is going to work is are wanting to stick to the 2 minutes. Sir, if you can go through all those questions and respond, and then Mrs. Bravo, if you have any follow-up questions, then you can do it. So that way you get your full 2 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying that we have a lot of time for this?
No, not you, sir. The board does.
Okay, yeah. I think generally what we have is overall questions, I guess answers to your questions. And like I said, I don't know that we want to be very definite on those answers to you, other than there is going to be improvement based on the numbers that we're reflecting here. But we didn't go through the actual computation
That's fine.
of each first rating to determine what kind of score you're going to be receiving.
If, Mr. Gonzalez, if we could you go through each one? And I know you can't give definite, but in your professional opinion, you could tell us yes or no, we anticipate it's going to be a higher number, or yes, we're going to get another yes, or no, we're not. And this is just on your opinion based on the audit. If you could go through each one, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. I guess the first one, do I need to repeat the question, or everybody knows what the question is?
Read the question and then give us your opinion on it.
Okay, it basically says some of the indicators on the financial integrity rating system of Texas, also known as FIRST, are directly related to the annual financial report, which is what you have before you today. On indicators 1 through 5, in your professional opinion, based on your findings, will the school district receive a score other than yes? And I think that the answer would be that you should receive a yes on all of those. In our professional judgment, I don't think there's any that would be a no. On indicator 7, in your professional opinion, based on your findings, will the school district realize an improved ratio related to short-term debt? And that's what I'm saying. I think it will be an improved rating. I can't tell you what that number's going to be, but it's going to be better than last year because of your operations and the increase in the fund balance this year compared to last year.
Because last year it was a 4, so you're saying it's going to be better.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And on question number 3, on indicator number 8, in our professional opinion, based on our findings, will the school district realize an improved ratio related to long-term solvency? And I think the answer to that is also that we feel comfortable again because of the operations that transpired last year based on our report, that should be an improved rating that you get next time.
Because that was also a 6, so I anticipate them to improve from a 6, a little higher hopefully.
That's correct, that's correct. On number 4, 6, 9, 10, 13, 14, and 15, in our opinion, based on our findings, will the school district realize a score other than a 10? And in that one, I don't know what we can say. It would be all 10s?
Yes.
Okay.
They will stay the same, because we got all 10s last year, so that's good. Okay.
Question 5 is related to the question on the AFR, which is finding number 1 on the report that deals, and it says, when the superintendent brings an item to the board for approval, which is an expenditure in excess of $25,000, should that item be identified by function and object code? In our opinion, in your professional opinion, that budget amendment submitted to the Board of Trustees for approval should be identified by function and object code? Eli?
We believe that this is something that's up to the superintendent and the board to decide the level of detail that can be provided. I think that's up to you.
Okay.
We can decide to be very specific, even to the very detailed account level, or it can be at a lesser detail. But something that you all can decide.
Yeah.
So it's, even though it was written in your report that that's what you're recommending, then you're leaving it up to the superintendent on how he wants to do that, whether he puts the fund, the function, or the object code.
That's correct. Well, as we're saying, there hadn't been anything provided in the past 3 years. So we're wanting to address that to make sure that something is provided to you, board members, as the oversight of this particular district. So, you know, we don't want to make a determination at this point and say you got to do it this way. We're recommending saying there's different alternatives. We feel management is more in a position to do it. If we come back next year, hopefully we get reappointed to continue the audit, and we'll come back, and if there's issues with that, we'll of course bring it to you. Anything that we brought up this year, we'll follow up and bring you our position on that. The management did do it, and if they did it, we'll be comfortable and satisfied with what was accomplished.
Okay, thank you.
With regard to the second question, the second part of the question,
Right.
at what level we're recommending at least in the fund and the function level, because that is the level at which the board approves the budget.
So at least the fund and function level,
Yes,
not necessarily the object code.
no, not necessarily, but it can be provided. That's
Okay.
something that is worked out between management and the board.
Okay.
On number 6, the question related into our finding number 2, as it relates to the budget. And the question is, in your judgment, professional opinion, how often should the Board of Trustees in session receive periodic financial reports and other financial information? Again, our basic finding here is that you're not getting anything that we feel comfortable, that again, we should have the oversight to have that. So we're saying provide something on a periodic basis. Again, leaving that to management to decide whether that should be monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, you know, whatever position they want to take on that. And then we'll take a look at that a year from now.
So because you said periodic, is there something that you as a CPA are recommending as a periodic? Is it quarterly, monthly, or what is your recommendation?
Well, we're leaving that up to the board again and the superintendent to decide, because, it depends on what information is needed. And so we've audited districts where they're providing very, very detailed very, very detailed reports, and, sometimes it may take a lot of time as far as the presentation is concerned. And sometimes, they could have the opposite extreme where no information is provided. So again, it's something that we don't want to dictate to you or even recommend. We believe that you need to decide on your own what level of information you need to perform your duties, not only for the board, but also for members of management to be able to monitor the financial condition of the district.
Okay, thank you.
And for management, it could be more frequent than quarterly. And for the board, it could be quarterly, it could be monthly. Question number 7? Yeah. Again, based on, there were some amount, I guess the answer to that question is, there was a 3.5, read the question, please refer to AFR page 11, the $3.5 million which was expended in 2016 and 15, I'm sorry, 2015-16, due to the legal allocation, which this amount accounted for in the AFR ending in August 31st, 17. And the answer to that is yes, it is. And that was you'll find it in the notes of financial statement, where there was, that was allocated back in for a specific lawsuit that had been involved. We allocated those funds, those were no longer needed. So we suggested to reverse that and increase your fund balance. Your fund balance increased drastically from last year because of that adjustment and another adjustment with workers' compensation, which is the other question. So the answer is yes, it's accounted for here. It was being accounted for as an expenditure. That was settled, so we reversed that. That's back into your fund balance. And then the last one. I think the last one first, number 8, is what is your recommendation relative to a base fund balance for the school years, for the school district's workers' compensation fund, which you believe is not excessive? And the issue there, in our report, we basically visited with management because there was some funds that had been allocated for workers over the years. And we did a detailed analysis going back, was it 10 years? 10 years to determine what figure would be spending that fund to determine and support a balance of over $6 million. I think that was in there. And so We did that analysis, and we basically came back with a conclusion that balance was excessive and that needed to be adjusted. We did readjust the fund balance to increase that fund balance by that additional amount as well. That's reflected in the financial statements. And then what we're saying is that the amount, we think that it's there now is committed by the board, and that amount can be adjusted upwards or downwards after you get some additional history of work. That's going to be a static number. I mean, it's not going to be a static number. It'll be a evolving number based on the claims that are filed. So we think the 4 million is excessive, but I don't know if there's another number that we can come up because that's the actuarial, and your claims are going to dictate what that amount should be in years to come.
And if I may add on analysis, we noted that the claims that you have paid are really, the last 5 years have decreased pretty substantially. I think 5 years ago they were around 100,000 or so. So now they're a lot lower, between 200 and 300,000. Also, your liabilities have decreased, based on the actuarial studies. So as far as the level, your question is regarding that to, we feel it's excessive, we recommend an amount. We believe there that probably management and probably your insurance consultants will probably be best suited to determine what would be the appropriate level, because the level that you should establish as a commitment should be basically a reserve for catastrophic losses if you were to incur any of that. So it would be that between management and your insurance consultants would probably be the parties that should analyze what levels should be there.
And in your report, there was 3.4 million that was taken because it was excessive, and that was put into the self-insured insurance, right, which is a fund balance.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to, management has, on the management discussion and analysis report that as part of the financial statements, that amount is going to be freed up and it's going to go into the undesignated fund balance.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, those were all the questions Ms. Prado submitted for the CPAs. Are there any questions on your behalf? Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Prado, do you have any follow-up questions
No,
tonight?
I think Savannah, I don't know if you want to, I had two for Dr. Savannah.
Okay, we'll wait on that since we
Okay.
have them there ready. Mrs. Guerra?
Okay, I just needed clarification. It's in the booklet, page 84. It's the summary of auditors. On the second bullet, it says significant deficiencies identified not considered to be material weaknesses. That's the only thing crossed off with a yes. Everything on this page is a no. And it's on here too. The latest one, the 3-pager, again, it says material weaknesses. Could you explain that?
Yes. I think that if you're looking at our summary or that page number that you're referred to on page 84, based on our test, we can report to you that our opinions were clean as it relates to the financial statements and entitled an unmodified opinion, or it used to be called an unqualified opinion, but for layman terms, it would be a clean opinion. We feel very comfortable after our adjustments have been entered into these, the books of accounts through August 31st, 2017, that these numbers are fairly reflected. Then, because you do administer federal funds, we have to do additional testing for your programs. And at point number 2 on auditor's report, as it relates to the federal awards, we're telling you that there were no material weaknesses, but there were 2 significant deficiencies that we just discussed, and which relates to the budget preparation and reporting, that we don't think you're getting enough information on that or being prepared. And keep in mind that all this was prior to the new administration being in place. So I think a lot of improvements have occurred since the last few, since we got here, and these things were transpired during the year, but I think they're being addressed now. And the second one was a financial monitoring and reporting that we responded to Mrs. Prado's questions a little bit earlier. So those 2 are significant. They're included in the report. They're disclosed right behind page 84, a lot more detail. Page 85 and 86, and tell you what we found, what are the situations, what are our recommendations, and then page 87 is management's response telling you, hey, we recognize it, we concur, there are problems, we're addressing it, and this is what we're going to do about it. So that's how that's taken. And then the part B of our audit summary, number 2, on the second audit report, the third audit report that we issue is dealing with compliance with the major programs. As you know, all your federal programs and state programs have strings attached to how you use those funds. It's our task is to come in and review that to ensure that management is following and complying with the requirements of each of those funds. So that point B, unmodified opinion, we tell you that as it relates to compliance with the major programs, we didn't find any material weaknesses. We didn't have any significant deficiencies. We had no non-compliance issues, and we had no question costs. As the auditor, if certain costs were incurred that we felt were outside the compliance requirements, we had the right to question those costs. And in this case, we're sharing with you that there were no major costs that were identified or reported.
Okay, all right, thank you. The second one is in the insert, it's on page 3.
On the code of conduct report?
Yes,
Okay.
it's number 7. This is where I want, just clarification. It says,
Sure.
we are aware that the district contracted the predecessor auditing firm to perform an evaluation of the status of the TEA corrective action plan. And it says, we understand that the final report has not been provided to the district. As far as you know, is that still correct? We still haven't received anything?
Probably Mr. Samora will be able to answer that.
The district did most recently receive the final report from Belt Harris, who was the previous auditor who was hired to do this work. I want to say it was maybe 2 weeks ago when we finally received it after several attempts to get this from them.
And for Mr. Castillo or Dr. Savena, was this what we were talking about at the last meeting that we had, that it was closed, but we just haven't received the hard copy? Or this is something else?
I believe this is what we're talking about.
This is, okay.
Yeah, this is, you might recall, the TEA had requested that we have an independent agency come in, an auditor, and verify basically that we were putting in place the corrective action plan that we submitted to them. And they worked on it 8 months, a good while, and had not provided us a final report. Like JC said, we just received it about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so we do have a hard copy that it's
Yeah.
fine, it's completed and nothing else is pending?
Not from them.
Okay. All right, thank you, that's all questions I had.
Okay, board members? Anyone else have a question? Mr. Ibarra?
I just had one, I guess this is for Dr. Savetta. How often, in your opinion, do you think we should be getting the reports?
Financial reports,
The ones that were kind of, that they're...
that we're talking about, probably quarterly.
Okay.
Basically, would you agree?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or, yeah, I would think quarterly probably would be appropriate.
So how do we go about that? Because it's pretty much up to admin that works with the auditors.
We simply will provide them quarterly.
Okay.
And we have to discuss this.
We already have the first quarterly report prepared and ready to be sent out as part of the board update this coming Friday. So you'll receive the first quarter, September through November.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other board members have a question? Mrs. Bravo, you have a follow-up?
Dr. Savella, may we have a copy of the final letter that we got on the investigation that you just found?
Copy from the auditors? Yes, ma'am, we'll send it out.
Okay.
If I may, there's no other questions, Madam President? I did want to share with you that second report, which is a conduct of our report, that's disclosed 8 other issues that we didn't think were material or significant, but we think need to be addressed. Those have been, we have shared that with management. They've looked at that. We don't have management's responses in our letter, but we would expect that they will provide some management's response to you so that we can then look at that for whoever we select to come in and review that to make sure that they address that in subsequent.
Okay. Mrs. Bravo?
Just follow up to what he was just saying. I guess what they're recommending then is something that you and staff are going to start working on to prepare the deficiencies.
Yeah, we will, Jason will address these.
Okay. And then will you report back to us, let us know what the
Sure.
status is, and if those have been taken care of already?
Yeah, whenever we do the quarterly financial report, we'll update you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Did you have a couple of questions from Ms. Estrada?
Oh, yes, that's what I think. There was two, you have the, do you need me to read them, or?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. My question was on the report of conduct audit, which is the booklet. If you have it. On here, under internal control deficiencies and other matrix, the immaterial instance of non-compliance with state requirements. Do you have a specific timeline? I think I just asked you that you're going to share with us and the board, which delineates which external auditor's recommendations will be addressed, and you just answered that one.
We'll provide them.
Important.
And JC?
And then,
My apologies. So for most of these internal control items in section 9, most of them are already in place. So anything that has to do with the procurement process or board approval process, we're already addressing those things and bringing them to the board upon our discovery that maybe they hadn't in the past. So similar to the food service item that we had to bring to you once we discovered they weren't coming to the board. So those things are all in place already. They're already being addressed, they're already being reviewed through our internal control process of Ms. Cancino reviewing purchases above $25,000, and then myself, I review, and Ms. Cancino reviews anything above $50,000. With regards to the other items, again, as soon as we identify these situations, we immediately take action to create the controls or process to make sure that we are compliant with our requirements. The item on the payroll liabilities, we've already completed our audit of the payroll liabilities. We will be closing out all those balances at the end of this fiscal year. The Head Start drawdown, that is an area where we are addressing as far as drawing down on a monthly basis as we move forward with all federal program grants. And then the pledge collateral, again, it's something that we are getting this data now, and we are complying with making sure that we have data report to make sure that we are compliant with our collateral.
because they're also page 5 and page 6, there were others as well.
With regards to, there was a question with regards to the amount spent for the CATE program, the allocation that we get from the state. In the conduct of audit, it does report that we were below the required percentage. When the audit is prepared, data is not finalized for purposes of what we submit to the state. After we finalize our information and submit to the state, we will show that we were compliant with the required 58% that is required of the district on the career and technology funds. And then the prevailing wages for construction contracts, again, it's one of those things that we have protocols in place for all procurement processes to make sure that we're meeting any requirements that are dictated to us by the state within school district procurement guidelines. So we'll address these as they come up if we have construction.
And there's one more. That was a prevailing wages. The reason I wanted to hear or respond to how we're going to handle this is because some of these issues were issues that we had to deal with on the investigation. And I would hate to see this happen again to us, and we're going to get dinged by TEA because we're not doing the drawdowns on Head Start or because of construction projects. So we really have to monitor this.
I think an important point to make, and the auditor stated it, this is the audit for the last fiscal year that ended August 31st. Mr. Samara joined us in April, the last 5 months of that fiscal year. A lot of what they discovered were things from the first 7 months. It's really the whole fiscal year, you know. And I believe they've noted that Mr. Samara, Ms. Casino, and the staff have put in place a lot of the corrections that need to be put in place. And you know, we work on it on a regular basis. Anytime they identify a problem, you know, they put it in place.
I guess just so that, because ultimately, I think we are responsible.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
board ultimately is responsible for any finances having to do with the district. So I think for our peace of mind, with all of these discrepancies, deficiencies, it would be good to get a report, so there's know that these have been done already. And maybe even in writing, because, you know, I know we have the tape and everything, but if TE ever comes back and does an investigation, we have something documented.
I think another thing, if I may, thank the auditors. I think they did a fine job, identified areas of deficiencies that we needed to address or that possibly we had addressed already. But I really appreciated the approach they took to, because the only way we improve is unless you when you identify the issues, and we appreciate that. I think y'all did a fine job.
Okay, appreciate that. And I think it would be remiss of me not to mention that we have full cooperation from your staff. We, as your auditors, decide what we're going to look at, what sample size we're going to select, and we were not restricted in any formal fashion by staff. We have to work closely with them, but we report ultimately to you, the board. And they provided us with the data on a timely basis so that we were able to get this report out to you on a timely basis. And we feel comfortable, as we shared with you, there are more number of issues that are here, but I think that we feel comfortable with the level of staff that you have in place that can address these concerns and issues.
Do you foresee any possibility of getting the audit done before January, like in December? But I think other districts actually complete their audit at the end of the year and not wait till the deadline in January.
Yeah, well, I mean, anything is possible, Ms. Carter. I guess it's a coordinated effort with the staff. It's not just the auditors coming in and saying, you know, this is the deadline. We need data, we need information, so it depends on working out backwards if you wanted to, which we've done with some districts. But I mean, you're still timely. Your report, this report, I know you had a special meeting for this. Hopefully that can be avoided next time around, but I can see that we can generate something out by the December meeting. Do you have a December meeting, or do you?
Yes,
Yeah.
mid-December. Keep in mind also that we were engaged late in the year, so that's one of the reasons. We work very hard with your staff to be able to meet the deadline. You know, your staff worked over Thanksgiving and Christmas to be able to have the information ready. So
We appreciate you taking on the challenge. Thank you.
Mrs. Brother, you had a last question for Dr. Savera?
That's it.
That was it?
Dr. Savera answered the question.
Okay. So, Mrs. Flores?
Yes. Based on what we just discussed, that you're going to be giving us a quarterly report, is there going to be a timeline by when all these corrections for the deficiencies should be done by?
As I mentioned before, most of the deficiencies are already, the corrections are in place. So if I talk to the procurement or the board approval items, there's 3 of those. We're already addressing that. It's already in practice to say, you know, if a requisition is created in our system and it's above $25,000, we require that a board agenda be included as part of the support. If it's not, then our purchasing director goes in there and requests it or pulls it. If it gets by her, then Ms. Cancino also is responsible for that. And then again, if it's above 50, then I get to see it and I review the support again. So we have a 2- or 3-tier review process at the administrative level for all procurements. The other areas, the self-insurance fund item, again, that was more of, you know, a recommendation about what level of fund balance do we want to maintain. So there's not a corrective action as much as just a decision. The construction contract falls into that sort of procurement process that we're already reviewing. You know, at a 2- or 3-tier level. Well, it would be 3-tier for construction. The drawdown the bank reconciliation and pledge collaterals, again, they're all already being addressed as far as.
So I think what I'm thinking is, or what I'm kind of hearing from the board is if we could, I know you're speaking to those little items or the headings, but if we could just have it in writing, that, you know, you worked on it, it's done, you know, and then just for our peace of mind that you read the deficiencies and the recommendations and what's being done about it.
Yes, ma'am. We'll put it together.
Ms. Hutchinson, I apologize. There was two questions for Dr. Spiller, not just one. And Ms. Lotus is done, you know, not like a wait.
No, I just wanted to make sure in my mind that I understand that we're going to be getting quarterly reports now, that you will be letting us know that all of this has been corrected. You've been working on it, it's been corrected. It's
So the report on the conduct of audit will just be a one-time submission of the actions we've taken to correct these items. The quarterly report that we're speaking about is a financial report. So it's going to give you our budget to our actual with the remaining balance. That's what the quarterly report will exist of. So it's going to be more of a profit loss statement to sort of let you know where we are financially at every quarter, to see how much money we have left, how much we've spent. That will be the quarterly report that we're
so
talking
then what you're giving us in writing will be that you've addressed all of these issues.
about. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Bella?
The other question that I have for Dr. Savetta is on the report that we got from the auditors on page 11. It says that the district anticipates losing 300 to 500 more students in 2018-19. And I guess my question for Dr. Savetta is that something that you're going to brief us on? And, you know, I was surprised to see that large of a number.
That discussion would occur during the beginning of the budget process that we most likely will begin in February.
In February.
But I can tell you now that that estimate, which is conservative, mirrors pretty much what the decline was this last year.
Okay.
And the district was, even before the two charter schools opened up in our district, the district was already losing 200 to 250 students a year. An additional 300 or so occurred last year as a result of the charters. That charter is half full. The second half occurs this next year. So that's how we came up with the estimate of about 500 kids.
I'm glad we're starting the budget process sooner. I think we're going to need to, especially now with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
loss of the students this year.
Right.
Okay, thank you. That concludes that segment. We're now on number 2.
Need an action to approve the
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the district annual financial report for fiscal year ended August 31st,
Madam
2017?
Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I move that we approve the district annual financial report for fiscal year ended August 31st, 2017.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made by Mrs. Prado, seconded by Mr. Ibarra. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President.
Now we're on to number 2, discussion and possible action on the review of applications and the interview and possible appointment of board members for single member districts 3 and 6. So board members, I'd like to go into closed session at this time so that we can discuss the process that we're going to be doing. The time is 7:41. now back in open session. The time is 8:05 p.m. We do have 3 candidates for District 3 and no applicants for District 6. And so if the 3 candidates, which is Mr. Alex Dovalina, please stand. Ms. Denise Jimenez. And Mr. Edward Bono Mumpia. Okay, so the first interviewee is going to be Mr. Alex Dovalina. If you could please come up and sit at this chair. The other 2 will be escorted to the boardroom. Please follow Ms. Jocelyn. Before we begin, I have counsel who's going to read an excerpt.
Yes, Madam Board President, members of the board, Dr. Saavedra. As you all know, the board has decided to conduct these interviews in public. So the normal rules as pertaining to a board meeting will apply as far as disruption is concerned. So the board shall not tolerate disruption of the meeting by members of the audience or individual board members. Persons attending board meetings are not delayed, interrupt, or disrupt the process to obey the order of the officer. Any disruption will result in immediate removal of members of the public and possible action of the board to remove disrupting individual board members or members of the audience. And like I said, as you know, there's going to be a citizen to be heard portion where members of the audience who choose to will have an opportunity to speak their.
Thank you. Okay, so the first questions are going to begin. I begin with question number 1. But before we begin, Mr. Dovalina, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, not at this time.
Okay, so let's begin. Why do you want to serve on the South San Antonio Independent School District Board of Trustees?
I think I can help the district. I think I can make a difference with some of the stuff that's going on. I also have a son that is 7 years old. He's starting, and I think I can help the board.
Okay, thank you. Number 2 will be read by Mr. Revolver.
If appointed, what would be your top 3 priorities for South San Antonio ISD?
Well, one of my questions now is why are we losing kids? You know, my priority is to try to keep the kids here in the district. And I'm guilty of one of them. I have a son that's going to an IDEA school, which is a charter school, I believe. And I just found out that it was public funded. And I'm not saying, why are we losing them kids to a charter school when we have a school district here? You know, why can't we keep them? You know, and I want to know what I can do to help keep the kids in the school district. I have 2 older sons that went to South San, and they turned out very well. And I see no reason why we're losing kids to anybody else. You know, why are other schools coming in and taking our kids? That's basically it on the why I'm here. And I just don't know, I'm not familiar with what's going on, and I'd like to learn.
Okay, Mrs. Gilbert.
In your opinion, what do you think the role of the board is, and what do you think the role of the superintendent is?
I think the role of the board is to keep the kids in school. I kind of wish there was more involvement and get the parents to be more involved with the kids. The superintendent, I guess, is just to keep everybody in line, to kind of, you know, be manage the whole district. I think that's the main part. If we manage everything great, everybody helps each other out, everything works out in the end. So I think that's pretty much it, what I think.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Prado.
Thank you, Ms. Ostergeese. Mr. Dovalina, my question is, do you have any additional skills that you feel would be beneficial to South San Board of Trustees and/or to our students and staff?
Well, I'm a contractor, I'm a home builder, and I also build apartments. So I'm a little familiar with some of the contracts, you know, some of the terminology, some of the stuff that goes on. Although I'm not a commercial type building builder, but at least I have some knowledge, and I think I can help.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Flores.
Yes, Mr. Devlin. As a community member, What do you see are some of the strengths of this board, and what are some of the weaknesses?
Well, obviously, the board members are here because they want to be here. They want to make a difference, and hopefully I can be added to it so I can help. The weaknesses, I don't really know. I haven't been around that long to know, even though I've been in the district 40 years. I've never been really involved, besides my son being in school. So that's something that I learn as I go, and see what I can do about helping out.
Okay, Mr. Togolina, those are all the questions we have for you today. Is there anything that you would like to say?
I just feel that when I was younger, I never really paid much mind to what's going on with the school board. I really didn't care. But as I've gotten older, things happen, and those thoughts come into my mind now that I want to make a difference. I want to do something that I wish I would have done earlier in my life. But I am here now, and given the opportunity, I think I can succeed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Togolina. We do have 2 other candidates that we're going to be interviewing, and if you would just follow Mrs. Durant, she will tell you where to go. Good evening, Mrs. Jimenez. Thank you. There are going to be 5 questions asked by each of the board members. Okay, and these are the questions that we will be asking you. And the first one is by me, Mrs. Ostergang. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we begin?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Okay. All right. So, why do you want to serve on the South San Antonio Independent School District Board of Trustees?
I would like to serve on the Board of Trustees to be able to promote student outcomes and to also provide and structure goals, unity, and advocacy to the children and board communities.
Okay. Number 2 is going to be asked by Mr. Ibarra.
Hello, Ms. Jimenez. Number 2, if appointed, what would be your top 3 priorities for South San Antonio ISD?
My top priorities would be to learn the issues of what y'all are working on, to be an advocate for the kids and for the families in the district, and to also support administration staff with the tools needed to be effective.
To be the advocate for state.
Okay, question number 3 will be read by Mrs. Guerra.
Okay, in your view, what is the role of the board and what do you consider the role of the superintendent to be?
The role of the board would be to me as a governance piece, and the superintendent would be more of a management piece.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Prado, number 4.
Thank you. Ms. Jimenez, my question is, what additional skills do you feel would be beneficial to the South San Board of Trustees and/or to our students and staff?
I feel that the additional skills that I have that would be beneficial to the board is my experience that I've had on the board. And the former positions that I served in working at the hospital where I'm at now with children and different communities and surroundings.
Thank you.
Mrs. Flores, number 5.
Yes. Ms. Jimenez, as a community member, what do you see are some of the strengths of this board and what are some of the weaknesses?
I would say as far as the strengths, I'm learning the issues that are happening, and I see that y'all are coming together and working with TEA to make all together as one in discussions and, you know, the better for the kids, all better for the kids in the community. As far as the weaknesses, I haven't really got into detail yet as far as the weaknesses. I have to get to know each and every one of you, individually, and, you know, we just go from there, but work as a team as always. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Jimenez, that concludes all of our questions. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I sure do. I just wanted to let y'all know that I am an alumni and I have graduated in 1989. I have 2 children that attend South San. My son is in the National Honor Society. He is also in the College Ready program and serves for BACSAT. And he is all college ready. And I think this month we start, he'll be mentoring at Trinity University and also plays tennis. And then I have a daughter. She also goes to Zamora Middle School in which she plays soccer. I have 2 sisters that graduated class of '84, a brother in 2008 and a sister in 2006. So we've all been, you know, families in the home of the Bobcats. So just look at it on that.
All right, thank you. So Ms. Jimenez, you will follow Ms. Duran, and we will let you know at the end of the interview.
Oh, she grabbed them?
Yes. Before we begin, Mr. Mujia, would you like to say anything?
First, it's just an honor to have applied, and so I welcome all the questions, and I look forward to hopefully working with all of you.
Okay. So I'm going to be asking you the first question. Why do you want to serve on the South San Antonio Independent School District Board of Trustees?
Well, it's always been, ever since I was in elementary school, my desire to serve the community. So after I graduated college, I came back here and I worked in the public sector and I worked for Councilman Saldana. And I'm always telling myself and others that it's important to be involved in the community, and especially when you're young, like myself, I'm 24 years old, to step up in any opportunity you can to serve. So when this opportunity came up, I decided that I should follow my own advice and apply.
Okay. Number 2 will be asked by Mr. Rebacher.
Mr. Munguia, if appointed, what would be your top 3 priorities for Southside ISD?
One of the priorities would be transparency. If some of the recent public meetings that we all attended, we saw that there was a lack of trust with the trustees. And I think that one of the things I would like to do is really, you mentioned the budget earlier, is bring the budget to the community and show them exactly that we get a majority of state funding, then our taxes here at South San, and then the federal funding. And I don't think most people know that, and I don't think most people know how the money is being spent. And I think if we show them, this is where we're spending your money, your tax dollars, because most folks pay the most amount of taxes to the school district, more than the city. And I think the city does a really good job of presenting the budget and getting feedback and incorporating all of that, going back to the community and saying, this is what you told us, this is how we incorporated your beliefs into the budget. So that's one for transparency. The second would be safety. I have visited 2 school areas due to safety concerns. Ms. Prado had me go to Athens one time and we met out there talking about traffic safety. I walked with kids from the mobile home community on Zarzamora to Hutchins Elementary to test the walkability of that sidewalk and the traffic in that area. I have had a meeting in our office with concerns about Model Elementary and the traffic in that area. And so we had a meeting with the Chief of Police for South San, our safe officer, the Vice Principal of Model Elementary, and we had our traffic folks at that meeting. So good transportation in our district and making sure when we're asking kids to walk, it's a very safe route and it's very walkable. The third one I would bring is, let's see here, really teaching kids and parents more about their local government. I think the education of parents and how the system works here is lacking. There's oftentimes I get phone calls saying the flashing beacon isn't working on my way to school. And they don't know that it is something that the school district tells us to put the light on at this time to this time. So I think that parents need to know more what's going on in the community.
Okay. Number 3, Mrs. Getter.
Mr. Munguia, in your view, what do you consider the role of the board, and then what do you consider the role of the superintendent?
I think the board is supposed to take the interest of the citizens who vote for them to the district and implement long-term vision for the school district. The superintendent is a hired professional who has a background in administration and a background in overseeing the employment of dozens, if not scores of people. And I think that the superintendent needs to see the day-to-day operations of the school, hiring, firing, suggestions of raises, and presentations of the budget. And the board is supposed to take that and try to merge the public interest with the facts of the superintendent. It's a model very similar to the city manager and the city council at the city level. And so that's how I view the relationship between the superintendent and the board.
Thank you.
Number 4 by Mrs. Prado.
Thank you. Mr. Munguia, are there any additional skills you feel would be beneficial to the South San ISD Board of Trustees and or to our students and staff?
Sure. In my letter of interest, I mentioned 3 skills that I think I would bring to the table. One is what I call active listening. And that is when you hear somebody and you hear them talk and you don't say anything. I do that at my neighborhood associations I go to and on the phone when people come in. And I think it's important to hear people out and not try to put your own beliefs in them when they're talking to you. Second skill I would bring is patience. You probably know there's a lot of projects that happen, and it takes time to get those done. And it can be frustrating when there's delays in stalling of those projects, but it's important that they get done in the way they need to get done, in the budget that's been given to them. So that's another one. And what I would also say is vision. You need to have vision when you're an elected official and when you serve in this type of capacity. It's very easy to go through your agenda every month and go through each item and just kind of go as you go along. It's another thing to have an overarching vision for the district and for your community and do all the small steps in between to get to that larger vision. So I think I have those three skills I bring.
Thank you, Ms. Bonilla.
Okay, number 5, Mrs. Flores.
Yes, Mr. Munyan, as a community member, what do you see are some of the strengths of this board and what are some of the weaknesses?
Well, this past year I got to see up front some of the weaknesses and some of the strengths of the board. So I think one of the weaknesses that the board has previously had was an inability to work together. I think that everybody had it in their heart to serve the constituency that they had, and sometimes it was butting heads with each other. So I believe it was a place of honesty, but I don't think that it was very productive for our district, and as a result, we had an observer from the state intervene. One of the strengths I saw is that after the observer came, things were getting done in the manner that they should be, and now you don't have an observer anymore. So that to me shows that you're willing to correct the problems of the past and work together on the future, and not try to have this intervention, not try to have any more problems erupt like the way that it did this past year.
Thank you.
Okay. Those are all of the questions that the board is going to ask. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Good questions.
Ms. Munyan, is there anything you'd like to add? That's the end of our questions.
Oh, okay. Well, I've worked with some of you in the past in our neighborhood associations, and I hope you know that I'm a very hardworking person. And the only thing I would bring here is my constituents in District 3's concerns to the table. And I want the best for this district. I don't have any kids now, but I hope to have kids in the future. I attend South San School. And I want the best for them, and I want the best for the kids that we have now.
Okay, thank you. The board will now go into closed session to deliberate, and the time is 8:29 p.m. Business to be heard. So we're going to open up that section. And if we could have council go over the statement.
Yes, Madam Board President, members of the board. Members of the public will have an opportunity to address the board of trustees during this section on any agenda item or any subject within jurisdiction, except for matters related to pending litigation. Each speaker should sign in on the public comment sheet read with the board of trustees. At the board of trustees meeting, speakers should limit their comments to 3 minutes. The board of trustees may have any member deemed it necessary to vote the number of speakers and the time allotted for each speaker on motion and second by any other member. So, again, the normal rules of the core apply. The purpose of this public session is for a narrow reason, is to give your opinion on the areas that you decide.
Okay, thank you. First one to speak is Mrs. Stacy Alderete.
Should I wait for them to come in before I begin? Or do I just go? Good evening. Tonight, a decision will be made, a decision that the community, taxpayers, voters should have had more input than just a citizens to be heard. Today we sit with 3 applicants for District 3 and 0 for District 6. Although I am not in District 6, it absolutely affects me and more importantly my children. There was not enough publication throughout our community, as we can see. The process chosen to interview applicants made many feel intimidated or not qualified, making many not step forth, which showed on our district Facebook. As I sat waiting for this meeting to begin, the board president only greeted one of the applicants. I would like the board to remember what their legal qualifications were to run for these seats. They were to be 18, live in your district for 6 months or longer, and be a registered voter. We hope today that there are no chosen ones and that this is a fair process. We would also like the board to know that our group has grown well over 100 individuals in our community. We are watching, and although today our voices may be ignored, we do have a choice and capability during election time to make a choice. I hope today, when you view these applicants, that it is a fair process and that you see everybody equally and make the right choice. And I also hope that, we're sitting here with three out of our entire community. There was not enough publication for this. A Facebook post is not enough. The website is not enough. Many of our parents don't even know how to search through the website. They don't even know how to look for the board members on the website. Legally, you're following what you have to, but really, come on. Notes should have went home. People did not know. The only people we have here are, they've been told by certain individuals. So I hope that, I don't know what's going to happen with District 6 because it affects me and it affects my children, even though it's not my seat. I hope something's done because this is not right. And again, board members, please be fair tonight when you make your choice. Thank you.
Madam Chair, it was my intent to sign up to say something about the bad weather day. I wanted to thank you, Dr. Zavedra, Ms. Castro, for the action that you took. But since I'm not allowed to speak on that subject, I will pass. But thank you.
Okay, board members, we're going into closed session. The time is 8:33 p.m.
have to go.
You haven't heard really much about me.
I'm gonna go sit in the other side.
Can't wait till we get rid of those big
Okay, so we're back in open session. The time is 9:02. And we are doing a second round of interview questions. And I would like, Mr. Ryan, if you can get Alex Dovalina. Have a seat. Mr. Dovalina, we don't have these questions typed out,
Okay,
but I'm going to go ahead and begin. There are a total of 4 questions.
all right.
The first one is, we have 2 meetings a month and sometimes have additional meetings for training and workshops. Are you willing to commit your time required of a school board member?
Yes.
Okay. Are you available for 2 full days for training on Friday or Saturday in the next 2 months?
Yes, yes I am.
Okay. Next question will be asked by Ms. Flores.
Yes, Mr. Bolina,
Yes.
what is the board's role in improving student outcomes that will help them become successful?
Can you repeat that again?
Yes, what is the board's role in improving student outcomes that will give them success or become successful?
I think in my opinion, to get parents more involved, having their kids go to school and give the importance of going to school. With the experience I have, when I was younger, school was not a priority to me, although I did graduate. As I got older, I wish I had gone all the way like my sons have, that I was able to afford and send them to school. And I wish I can try to teach them or have the board teach them to, apply themselves more, because in the future, they'll pay the price if they don't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the next question will be asked by Mrs. Prado.
Thank you. Mr. Dovalina, there will be a time where you may disagree with the board majority vote, because we take a vote on items. How would you handle that situation?
Well, being business, majority rules, just because I disagree with someone doesn't mean I can't follow what's on the agenda. I'm a team player, and I'll do what's right.
Thank you.
Okay, number 4 by Mr. Ibarra.
Okay, Mr. Dolina, what would you do to improve student enrollment in our schools?
I don't know, that's a hard one. I would say more try not to have drop enrollment, try to keep them, the ones that are here to stay, instead of losing them. I heard y'all say earlier, we're losing 200-300 students for next year. I think the problem is how do we keep them? How do we keep them from going somewhere else? But your first question, I really don't know. It probably takes some planning. Some suggestions even from parents. What can we do to keep the kids more involved? you all.
Okay, that concludes our questions. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I just hope I get the opportunity to lead and help you all, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. You can follow Ms. Durant and then bring Mr. Mejia.
Board President, if I may, just to remind the crowd that these questions are not before the candidates or the applicants, so we can limit the chat in the boardroom so that the candidates could hear the questions and answer appropriately in the boardroom.
Mr. Mejia, we have 4 questions that we would like to ask you. I will begin with the first one. We have 2 meetings a month and sometimes have additional meetings for training and workshops. Are you willing to commit your time required of a school board member?
And then some.
Okay. Are you available for 2 full days of training on a Friday and Saturday in the next 2 months?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. The next question would be asked by Mrs. Flores.
Yes, Mr. Mejia. What is the board's role in improving student outcomes that will give them success?
I think that you have to look at the statistics, the test scores and all that. So I think you have to look at what metrics are we setting for student performance, what we'd like to meet, and what we'd like to exceed in student performance. And then see the results at the end of the semester and end of the year, and see where things were not great. And I think it's our role to go to the superintendent and say, Doctor, we saw that the students failed or were not as great on this. What does that do to? Do our metrics make sense? Are our standards fair? And are they pushing the limit of what our kids are able to learn? And then I think it's really our job to consult with the teachers. They're the ones that are out there with the children. And we have to ask teachers, are we giving you the resources you need to teach the standards that we're setting for you? If the answer is no, then I think we need to work on what we provide teachers in the classrooms. If the answer is yes, then I think we need to look at how do we focus attention on individual students as opposed to the whole classroom, and see maybe if that's where the discrepancy is.
Thank you.
Okay, next question will be asked by Mrs. Prado.
Thank you. Mr. Mejia, there may be a time where you may disagree with the majority vote. How would you handle that situation?
Well, I think I'd like to explain why I casted an opposing vote, and obviously hear out everybody else. And at the end of the day, that was a disagreement. And I think that we need to find common ground. Instead of harping on where we disagree, I think we have to build on where we agree. And so I wouldn't take it outside this boardroom saying, you know, I was the minority, everybody else was opposed to me. You know, I believed in that and everybody else didn't. We were each accountable, we each held accountable to our constituents. So ultimately, they decide who gets to stay.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question by Mr. Ibarra.
Okay, Mr. Mejia, what would you do to improve student enrollment in our schools?
It's kind of an interesting question because it starts with us and ends with us. So South San is a very unique district in that we have a lot of undeveloped land. That's land that you can build houses on, where people will move with their families to enroll in the schools there. Currently, one of the reasons why we have so much vacant land is because no one wants to build here. The market is not in this area. Part of that reason is our concerns about the school. So what I think we first need to do is show the whole city of San Antonio and really the state that we take the education of children very seriously, that we've improved on any discrepancies we might have had or controversies, and then reach out to the city and work with anybody we can and say, you know, this is something we want. We want homes built here. We have good schools. This is the place to send your children. We are a family here. And one of the big upcoming things is actually the housing bond, which was passed this past summer in May. which allocates about $20 million to 7 different locations in the city. One being near Ms. Flores district over there on Oakers Road across from the park. That is an opportunity to have money to make it cheaper for developers to build and attract more families. Those are your working class families. We need to take advantage of things like that, the opportunities we have. And I can guarantee you, developers will want to come and build on that land if they know the school is there and the school is doing well by its children and by the people who live in the district.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mejia, you can follow Mr. Rand, and the board will now go into closed session, and the time is 9:12. session. The time is 9:39 p.m. First of all, I'd like to thank the candidates who applied for our district. I know that was a major step on both of your parts, and I welcome that, and I thank you for the time and effort you took in your interviews and the answers that you replied with. Very well eloquent, and thank you. Any other board members who'd like to give thanks? Mr. Ibarra?
I'd just like to say, I remember when I was in the hot seat and it's tough, and I commend y'all for coming forward. I appreciate it. We're always looking for people from the community to try to come out and get involved, and I really appreciate the sincerity of everybody, all the 3 candidates we have, coming up here, stepping up, giving y'all's time, and willing to make that commitment that's so hard to make sometimes. So I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll work together soon.
Okay, Mrs. Flores?
I too want to thank Mr. Golina and Mr. Mujia and Ms. Jimenez for stepping up and being able to go through the process that we set forward. It's not easy being in front of an audience and answering questions that are being asked, but that just shows your sincerity and how much you care about being able to help us move this district forward in the right direction. So thank you for stepping up and putting in your application. We appreciate it very much.
Okay, so do I hear a motion?
I'll move. Okay, I move that we will appoint candidate Edward Bono Munguia as the appointee for District 6 for the South San Antonio School Board.
Okay, it's clarification for District 3.
I'm sorry, for District 3.
Okay, motion has been made by Mrs. Flores. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Ibarra. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. And then there's going to be a second motion.
Yes, Madam Board President, members of the board, Dr. Saavedra, it is the advice of council based on the discussion in closed session that this board extend the deadline for the application for District 6.
Okay, do I hear a motion to extend the application
By a week.
by a week for District 6?
I so move.
Okay, do I hear a second? Second. Okay, motion has been made by Mrs. Flores, seconded by Mrs. Guerra. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion has been made by Mr. Ibarra. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion, seconded by Mrs. Guerra, and the time is 9:42 p.m. Thank you.